There are four things that we'll focus on. This is called the sports parliament. One is the role of government in terms of being a catalyst for sports. Has it been, or has it been an absentee parent? Second is, while sports are being patronized by brands, but are brands integrating themselves deeply into sports? Are they really at the grassroots level making sure that sports happen the way sports should happen? I'm not talking of glamorous event. Third, and I talked about the fact that we don't have a sports culture. It's changing. Parents want their daughter, son to be authors, sports people. So the traditional, stand-up comedians, the traditional career choices are broadening. But do parents still let their children pursue full-time careers in sports? I know, because you can't separate policy with culture. And last but not the least, what is the kind of investments you see in sports needed to really bring India a medal? We still haven't won really a gold medal for a long time. We haven't got significant medals in any sport, Olympic sport. So where do we see the future in the next 5 years? What kind of investment? So broadly, that's what we will do. We'll start with Mr. Chaturvedi, get his initial comments, go around the panel, and then do an interactive discussion. Mr. Chaturvedi.
Thank you. Well, since you asked me to make the first comment, I'll make it very brief. I think the policy structure in our country regarding sports should be that government should focus on creating infrastructure, coaching, and developing sports at the grassroots level. Rest of the things should be left to the sports federation, whether they are at the state level or the national level. Why I say this? Because you will find infrastructure requires a lot of capital investment, which the federations are not in a position to do. But unfortunately, what has happened in our country is a lot of infrastructure has been created already after Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, but it is not put to proper use. It is not open to athletes and sports person for use. In India, there is no structured program for developing our own coaches. I'll give you the example of table tennis. All the top players of table tennis that the country has produced, after they finish their active careers, they go to some bank doing some desk job. They are not contributing to sports. So this is because there is no structured program in our country to have our own coaches. So this is another thing that government should now focus on. And third is the grassroots level development of sports, which is possible only with government support.
Are you happy with the progress of non-cricket sports and sports in general for the last 3 years? Have things become better in the last 3 years? Does the future look better?
I just want to add a little more to what Mr. Chaturvedi has said. I think the government must continue to do what it's doing in the area of infrastructure. But beyond that, it must build an ecosystem which is beyond just infrastructure, which is coaching, which is sports sciences, which is sports medicine. Sports is a science, at least in my sport. I don't profess to know other sport, but in my sport, sports is pure science. And if we can't do that, we are not going to produce champions. UK spent 2,500 crores to train their Olympic team before the last Olympic Games to win the number of medals they got. Talking about ecosystem, they spent 2 billion pounds to create an ecosystem of managers, coaches, physios, doctors, support staff for their team. 2 billion pounds. Now that is the sort of ecosystem they created to support their team. Now it's only then you can win medals. If you realize that we got 100 medals at the Commonwealth Games, That is because government spent money. The government went a little berserk after the Commonwealth Games. And they started doing everything instead of building on that. Had they built on the Commonwealth Games when we got 100 medals, at Rio we would have got 20 Olympic medals. But they went berserk into interfering with federations, with Indian Olympic Association. Because they interfered with Indian Olympic Association, the Indian Olympic Association got suspended. All sorts of things happened. Because of all that happened, private sector was nowhere near, and private sector has never been helpful. Let me tell you, private sector has always shied away. So private sector, if it is not going to chip in, public sector. I mean, LIC makes 10,000 crores profit. Why, if there are at least 30 companies, public sector who make more than, and private sector who make more than 5,000 crores profit, why can't they give 1% of that to each sport? You will have Olympic winning athletes. We have 20, 30 Olympic sport. If part of that money can come into sport, or let's say each of these public sector units can say, we will adopt one sport. Out of the 5,000 crore profit that they are making, 50 crores comes every year to one sport. But you will have Olympic medals coming out of your years.
Yeah. So, thank you, Adil. I agree with you. You understand that what needs to be done at a legislation level, at a policy level, at the grassroots level. So, what do you have to say about the role of government?
We have to face the reality. We have to divert our attention, our funds and our focus apart from cricket on non-cricket sports. Rarely will you, Mr. Batra, see people from different fields gathering together for something which is not cricket. It happens. This is the reality of India. Number two, the infrastructure in our country is still very poor. And being a policy framer, I'll tell you why. The reason being, we in India are still striving for the basic amenities, like water, electricity, basic infrastructure. It is yet to be developed. And as far as Western countries are concerned, EU is concerned, Australia and China, they have all these basic amenities, infrastructure, and the government, it focuses a lot on sports. And sports is high on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Karan, all the three gentlemen on the dais have said that they want private sector to invest more. What should they do for you to invest more? Is one of the additional things I wanted to focus, apart from your initial comment.
Honestly, sports, binds the nation. Let's really, that's the essence of sport, and that's how deep it runs into our DNA. But while that sounds very good, there are a lot of very positive developments also that have been happening in the last few years. There is a lot of effort that is happening, not just by the associations and perhaps various departments of various agencies and governments trying to push these sports, but you also have private enterprise that have invested into these sporting enterprises. In the field of sports, we've actually tried to see how we can try and be that catalyst, how we can try and see those companies grow to their potential. Of course, we are a bank, so I can't play the card of CSR, so we have to try and see how our products are structured. So when IPL came around in 2008, we were also bankers to 4 or 5 of the 8 IPL teams. We still continue to be bankers to a few of them. The same happened when football happened, and so yes, we've done those things from the bank. We are also aware of a lot of initiatives that are being done by the various sports federations, and how they partner with the channels.
I just want to bring the audience in. It's
Please.
an important stakeholder in what we are doing. The lady there.
As federation heads, do you see some business model that may attract private investment directly for those
At the grassroots
at
level.
the grassroots level?
We run something called the National Inter-District Athletics Championships. There are about 600 plus districts in India. We invite the districts to come and run directly. 13 athletes are invited from each district. The Athletics Federation pays for food, accommodation and transport.
So we'll wrap up. I'll take the final comment from the panelists. Mr. Somerwala, I know you read books.
Only if you create the ecosystem will we make champions. The rest is all by the way. After creating the ecosystem, you need to fund it. You create the ecosystem, you fund it, you will have as many champions as you want.
And the ecosystem means infrastructure, sports medicine, and investment. Yeah, as you talked about. And one book or one sports person you look up to? One book you want to recommend if you...
I think Pansing Tomar.
Very good, I like that. Mr. Chaturvedi, final word for you.
My suggestion is that instead of finding faults with each other, all the stakeholders, that is the government, the sports authorities, the federations,
Media, it
along
doesn't
with
cover it too much.
all the stakeholders should join hands and move forward so that we can really develop sports in the real sense.
And one sports person, you've been a celebrated bureaucrat, then you've been in many associations.
I would like to give example of Saina Nehwal.
Wow, fantastic, we can relate to her.